Hi guys, welcome back to part 2 of this series as we go through the second main section of this series. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and move forward. If you missed part 1 of this series, just go ahead and go back to the previous video and see how we were able to create this whole thing. Okay, then moving forward to the next section, we're going to get into the main content section, and I will still go through everything right now. Okay, so since this is done, I'll go ahead and minimize that section. That's out of the way. Moving forward, again, I'm using a section. We talked about all that in part 1 of this series. So then now we're having a new element tag. Okay, so this is the main section, and why I'm using the element section is because the main element tag is because I'm trying to tell the browser that this is our main focus of the whole web page. This is very good for WCAG, so this will tell somebody who can't see that, you know, this is where the main focus should be, or this is where the main content of the page is at. So moving forward from that, we are using I'm giving it a container because I want everything to center or to match the previous content, and then I'm giving it an ID of about, okay, which will come later on. So there's a CSS for the main section, which is right around here. I'm padding everything with two rems, and then nope. And then using this main section class to style the main tag. Okay, that's why you don't see the ID of about here, but essentially you could also change this whole thing to just ID. It will still do the same thing. Okay, so I'm giving it a padding bottom, a display flex, and then centering everything at the center. Moving forward, so since we have an image, okay, we have an image in between, so let's okay, so we have two div sections in here, and why this is why you're seeing a display flex direction raw, because everything is going to be aligned. Those two div sections are going to be aligned side by side in that 100% width of the main section. Okay, then moving forward to the styling of the image, what we are actually doing, we're just saying the image should be styled at the start of the flex, and then the image details should be styled at the end. Essentially, you could also say width of 50%, and then this is also the width of 50%. Another alternative would use the flex. You can just use the flex attribute, give it 1, and then also give this one flex 1. So many alternatives to go around this same thing. Then inside the image details, we have inside the image details right around here, okay, we have another. So this is what I was talking about. This is the image which is at the flex start, and then the other details at flex end. Okay, in here we have another div element, which is image details position. That's I gave it a class of this because there's some tricky part that we may need to go around. Okay, so this is the image details position. All right, and what I'm actually doing is giving it the regular background of 3, padding of 3, position absolute, and width of 30%. So this is where the trick, the CSS, the styling comes in. Okay, so why I'm giving it absolute, because initially if I remove the absolute, it's gonna be starting from here where you see this blue you see the blue background color. Okay, so this V leader in interactive VR would be in here, but if I give it a position of a position of absolute, it's gonna go out of, I mean, it's gonna go on top of this whole container, okay, if I may call it, and it's gonna be randomly placed anywhere. So what you do is, what I did, I gave it a left, a z index of 1 to go an extra layer up on top of the rest of the stuff, and then I gave it a width of 30% and a left of 50%. What I'm literally doing is that I'm pushing it a little bit on this side, okay, a little bit on this side of the image. So text align the usual, and then let's see. So looks like that's done. So I hope this makes sense. So the header 2 tag, the paragraph are all under this image position, and then the image position is with that styling right there. Feel free to pause and then see what's going on. So it looks like the main section is done, and then we're moving on to the again another main section. Okay, so these two main tags would share the same class. Why? That's why I never explicitly use this tag, because I wanted both of them to share the same styling. Okay, so this main section and these two mains are gonna share the same styling. That's how I saved time on that. So in the second main section, what do we have? We have see all, where we have our creations. Oh, this is where it is. So that's why you are seeing them perfectly aligned here. Okay, if I go ahead and highlight that, so that's the green one, the second main section. Okay, and what I'm actually doing is that I'm giving them a class. Let's see, let's go ahead and minimize everything in here, if I may. Okay, this is really good. It's, so I gave it the same class. Okay, where would that be? That's we've gone through all that. If that mistaken, image details, yeah, so we were going to creations, yeah, right around here. Okay, I'll put that right there at the top. So we have creations section, which is this class. Okay, and then I gave it an ID of products. I think that would be in JavaScript, but let's focus on the class here. So what I'm doing is that I'm getting all these let's see. All right, perfect. So I'm creating a creations header and a cards section. So this is the creations header, and the cards are in here. So it's very good to section or modularize all your content in simpler modules. Okay, partitions, if you want to call it that way. So in the creations header, what are we doing? We're saying display flex, the usual, flex direction row, so that they're on the same thing, and then justify content space between. I explained that earlier on in the header. You're pushing them at either side, they will be perfectly centered. Okay, and align items at the center, that is vertically align them at the center. If this is the vertical section, this is the vertical section, so we're asking it to be at the center right here. Then explicitly we're going into in here, and we have a header and a button. Okay, those are the two only items that are pushed at the extreme ends. So giving it a font size, font weight, so that they're bolder, more bold, and then the button here, explicitly customizing it in that way. Okay, and then the color of the text, then the hoovering of it. Just feel free to play around with this. So this is a new attribute, I guess you haven't seen what it actually does. You're asking the browser to create an interaction to the user, that if the user brings see how the cursor looks like. So if that, so you're asking the cursor to turn into a pointer, okay, if the user clicks on this button, and then there's some interactivity background color right there, which is pretty awesome. Then the rest is just still again the button styling, and if the user clicks on the button, if the button is active, then you know the colors should, you know, do that. So if literally if you see, so there's some fast interactivity, you may not be able to see it, but there's that fast interactivity right there. Okay. If I change this to, let's see if, yeah, you won't see it. Or if I change this to focus, so what focus does is that if, so initially the other one active, so if that button is active, then the color will change, but you know there are no links to there are no, you know, reasonable links in here to make that active. But when you see if focus, for focus, how focus works is that if a user clicks on that button, it's gonna blink with that particular color if it is on focus. So if you click on it, it will just snap in a second and, you know, create that interaction right there. And then moving forward to the card sections, this is where the fun part is. Yeah, I'm going through everything real quick because I want to make the video really short. So the card section, what I'm doing here is displaying grid. So this is where something new comes in. We're not actually using display flex in this time, but we're going to be using display grid. And how display grid works is like, it's like a matrix, a grid system. So normally here in display flex we were using justify content, but when you use grid, you're gonna use grid template columns and grid template rows. Okay, so with rows, obviously, yeah, they're gonna be those rows, so they're gonna be like rows going at the bottom. And how I normally do it to be automatic, so I use automatic auto, then I use the number of partitions as auto. Okay, if I think I'm explaining that right, I use the number of partitions as auto on that particular template grid system. So if I want columns, okay, these are columns because these would be rows. Okay, I would just say auto. There's another alternative to go around this, and please just feel free to go to W3Schools grid system and you know, familiarize yourself with that. But there's a shorter way, because this, if imagine you had so many cards, you know, to show up. Let's say you're making like a table. Okay, obviously you would use a table, but if you want to use something more flexible as well, you can use a grid system. So because these were few, I had to use that, and there's another shorter alternative to do that. So moving forward, I'm creating a space in between them. So with grid, the system will know that there are 4, and then they will push the rest of the cards on the next level. So although these are sort of like 8, so it will get to the 4th one and then push the 5th one to the next row, just like that. Just like, it's very flexible. Please go into read about the grid system. It's really so fun to work with. Moving forward, let's see, categories. Then do we have something in here? So in categories, if I open just one, we're giving each card with the 100 display flex in there, and we're aligning everything to show in a column way. So everything in here is going to be in a column. So we have an image in there. We have an image. Okay, this is why we're using column, because we want them to display in this format. We have an image and we have a card title. So this is our image, and then this is our hold on, this is okay, this is our so I gave it a position of relative because somewhere in here I'm going to use absolute. Yeah, that's the the card title. So I'm making the image to display 100%, and then I'm making this image to, you know, position to be relative. That way I could push it at the bottom, but on top of this whole card. Okay? Hope that makes sense. So I'm giving it a position of absolute. Why? Because the image is covering the whole card. So if we don't give it these positions, we are not gonna be able to see it. So, and then giving it a padding. These are just stuff you could play around with. Oh, actually I'm giving it a background. This background, as you can see, it's a little, you know, blurry. That's just because of this attribute. So what you could do is you could use a background color, then RGBA. You can't see this because it's in black, but if I change that to, let's say, green, yeah, so you can see that. Okay, RGBA. So this is red, green, and blue. Then the last one is for the opacity. Okay, so turning it back to black, and the width would be 100%, and the height of this card title, where they are, you see this pocket, this one in particular, so the height will be automatic. Okay, we don't want to force it to display in any way, so just keep the height automatic. Then the hoovering section, these are things you can just play around. We are literally saying if the user hovers over the card title, then this should happen. Then let's see, so display center. Okay, we're displaying it to center, we're pushing it to the center. That's what you see in this. So if a user hovers over, the text should go at the center, and then the pointer, and then again the background. These are things you could play around with and have fun as you like. Thank you for watching this video, and we're gonna be moving forward to the footer and essentially getting done to the end of this project. See you in the next video. Peace.